Hi everybody, Jorge here reviewing 13th Netflix original series directed by Ava DuVernay or DuVernay. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name properly, but it's uh it's a, it's about the prison industrial complex and the Black Lives Matter movement. Uh, I thought it was particularly elucidating. Um, I was very impressed by all the statistics. You know, me as I barely started looking at iMovie and editing, I thought it was very well edited. I was able to appreciate how well edited this thing really was because I just got into editing myself and just tip of the iceberg sort of thing. So when I saw all these little clips, all these, it's just brilliant. Um, it goes back far. It goes as far back as the '80s with Reagan, Nixon, uh, all the way up to George Bush. Followed by Bill Clinton, and the steps they took, the legislative steps they took to ensure that people would be incarcerated, particularly people of color. 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 people that are black will go to jail in today's time, and whereas 1 in 13th people that are white males will go to jail. So it's highly disproportionate and highly against people of color. And I was amazed by all the statistics they brought up. The rap, they had a lot of rap. They would talk about how, I thought this was good rap. This is rap should be like. It should talk about social issues, like the themes and today's rap is garbage. I don't like it. I think it doesn't really tell much of a story, and it doesn't really talk. It's not really cultural. Like, that's what I noticed. It doesn't really talk about culture. It talks about, I don't know what the fuck it talks about. I don't know what the hell is going on with with rap in general. That's why I stick to Japanese rap. I love Japanese rap. But anyways, I just thought it was, you know, yeah, it analyzes the criminalization of African Americans and the U.S. prison boom. So there's a company called ALEC that is that is formed by politicians and corporations that work together to create laws. It's 2 in the morning, so excuse me, but they create laws to further criminalize people of color and jailmates. And there was this one guy who really stood out to me. He was taken in, and they told him that they would take his pictures and then they would set him free. But they never set him free. He got into a lot of fights. Like he caved into the unfairness of the situation, and he cracked, and it got the best of him, and he got in a lot of fights with inmates, with police guards, and he was let go after 3 years, and he tried to commit suicide a couple of times in the jail, and he was suddenly let go 3 years later. But he was interviewed after he was let out, and he just talked about how his situation and what happened, and he was given 15 years in prison, but he only served 3. And the strange thing was that he didn't really do anything. He didn't do anything. He he was accused falsely of having committed a crime, and that's why he had to go to jail. He had to get his pictures taken, but uh, and he was told that he would be shortly let go after he took the pictures, but they never let him go. He was stuck in a jail cell for 3 years, and 3 days after he got out of jail, he committed suicide, and he succeeded. So it just stuck me because he seemed like a regular guy when he was on the television show being interviewed. He sounded perfectly normal. Nothing seemed bad about him, or out of whack. He didn't seem out of whack or anything. And I thought, wow, he committed suicide, and he was a normal guy committing suicide, just like nothing. I don't know, just we tend to, like, especially in little children's stories and in the media, people are portrayed in a very bad light, as very deformed, very out of sync with their humanity. But sometimes they can just be normal people like you and me, and they commit suicide. What struck me though was that he was, when push comes to shove, if something really is traumatic, it can really cause problems for you. And I don't know, I just think it seemed like it was so unfair. It was so unfair because he did nothing wrong, and yeah, he behaved. He was criminalized, and this is part of criminalization of black people, in particular black people. Even though brown people are also criminalized, but black people were criminalized horribly, and this was part of it. He was criminalized. He was part of a system that criminalized black people, and he cracked under the pressure of it. And I think it could have happened to anybody. So I think, how normal people can, living under a normal life, and suddenly this unfairness comes across you, and it comes into your life, and it injects itself into you, and it just takes over your body and your mind, and it just destroys you. And I just think, wow, it's a shame, because your society can destroy you without you. Like, he cracked, he cracked, and athletes always talk about how mentally tough they are, and I don't know, I just think maybe they should dial back on that, because it doesn't show us their humanity. It just shows them their inhumanity. And when a black person cracks, it's not his fault. It's not his fault. It's not his fault that he wanted to commit suicide. It's not his fault that he got into fights. And especially white politicians, all of them were white. Like 90% of politicians were white in that time, in the 80s, and they all criminalized them, and they passed laws that disproportionately affected black people and brown people, people of color. And it just strikes me as unfair, and how normal he was, and he just took his life. And it got graphic. Like, there was a scene where a policeman was pointing a gun at this man that had already been shot in the stomach, and there was blood all over his wife beater. I don't know what they're called, these white tank tops. And he had blood. He had red all over his shirt, and he was still pointing a gun at him like he was gonna do something, even though he had already been shot. And the mother was just saying, "We're being shot." She was recording it. "We're being shot. My son has been shot, and we're stuck in a car." And And that's all she can do, record it, because she can't like perform medical treatment on him. He can't save his life. He can't undo the injustice. I don't know. I thought it was very, high, as it says in the Netflix description, thought provoking, and it really shows how criminals are really not what they appear, and like how Reagan was a shitty president, and Bill Clinton was a shitty president, George Bush was a shitty president. They all ran on criminalizing and being tough on crime, and honestly, that's slang. That's like code words for destroying black lives. Honestly, so yeah, that's my review. I thought it was informative. It definitely taught me a lot. It wasn't mushy. It wasn't trying to provoke an emotion out of me necessarily. I mean, it was, but it wasn't like sympathetic. You know, it wasn't trying to garner my sympathy. It was trying to be informative, but at the same time, pointing out this very big indignation. So yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe.